seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better. And kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor. Because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
City to city, coast to coast.
it's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Thursday morning. Welcome on into the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Before we go any further, let me just apologize. If you can hopefully not hear it, but I can definitely hear it. There has been incessant drilling going on outside my apartment for, I don't know, the last 2 hours or so. Nothing like 7 a.m. Forget about the alarm waking you up. A nice jackhammer, driving into the cement ground a few blocks away. That will definitely wake you up. So I apologize. It has been consistent for the last 2 hours. Fingers crossed it's not too audible on the mic. And hopefully, whatever they're doing, 'cause it has been all week, construction. They are getting closer to being finished and will be done by the time, or hopefully soon while the show is still in the air. So at least we get some peace and quiet in the background of the show. So I do apologize. Thank you for bearing with me there. But the drilling will not stop what is going to be a very fun and loaded show here on this Thursday. We got Baker Mayfield to discuss. We got Jordan Love to hit on. We got the NBA playoffs, baby, starting on up. Well, we won't put the play-in tournament as part of the playoffs. We got some interesting storylines and a lot of pressure going into this postseason for a few players and one specific team. We'll get into all of that throughout the next 2 hours as we go until 11 a.m. Eastern. As a reminder, we are coming to you live, as always, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios. Whether it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners, make sure you check out BigItalyPizza.com to find a location near you. Let's talk Derek Carr and his brand new contract extension that he got yesterday. I don't like it from the Raiders' perspective. I think they made a mistake. And it's not the mistake of giving Derek Carr 3 years. I think the length is actually perfect. It's not a mistake of giving him $121.5 million with that extension. It's not the fact for me even that he is getting $40.5 million average annual value, which makes him the 5th highest quarterback on that average in the NFL right now. It's none of that. The reason why I hate this contract extension from the Raiders' perspective is because they gave Derek Carr a no-trade clause. The no-trade clause to me is a massive mistake because what it does is it takes away the most important thing teams need when they don't have an elite franchise Super Bowl caliber quarterback. When you don't have that guy, you need flexibility in order to get that guy. And for me, the no-trade clause the Raiders gave Derek Carr takes away that flexibility Las Vegas needs in case, whether it's to the draft or whether it's through a trade, you are able to land the guy that can take you to the next level. Because like I said, if you don't have the guy, we'll say 10 teams have the guy. So just under a third of the NFL, just about a third of the NFL have a quarterback they feel like they can win a Super Bowl with. Well, the other 2/3 don't have the guy. They just have a guy. When you don't have the guy, you always got to be looking for the next guy, the next franchise quarterback that can get you to a Super Bowl. Look, let's just call it for what it is. To me, Derek Carr is not the guy. He's better than a guy, right? He's a top, let's say, 12 quarterback in the NFL, but I don't think Derek Carr is a quarterback that's going to get the Raiders to the Super Bowl. I don't think he's going to elevate this Raiders team above the Broncos with Russell Wilson, above the Chargers with Justin Herbert, and above the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes on a consistent basis year in and year out. And that is what you need from your quarterback in what is a hellacious division right now that is the AFC West. So with the Raiders, in my opinion, not having the guy, the Super Bowl caliber quarterback, when you don't have that guy, you need then to prioritize flexibility. You need to always be ready at the drop of a hat to be able to pivot away from your current quarterback to either, again, trade for a disgruntled quarterback like we've seen a few on the move this offseason, or be able to move up and draft a guy you think can get you to the promised land, similar to what the 49ers did with Trey Lance a few years ago. That flexibility is the most important thing for any team when they're looking to find their next franchise quarterback, but they don't have one. And for me, the Raiders losing that flexibility by giving Derek Carr control of his future in the form of a no-trade clause, it's a massive mistake. It's a massive mistake because now that no-trade clause gives Derek Carr all of the leverage on his future. The team doesn't control his future. Derek Carr controls his future. Because guess what? Let's just say tomorrow there's a team, let's say the Cardinals, go into a rebuild mode. Kyler Murray's on the block. DeAndre Hopkins on the block. If these Cardinals are going to tear everything down, well, if you're Derek Carr, you want to go to a rebuilding Cardinals team? Absolutely not. You can veto that trade, and there goes any hopes of getting Kyler Murray. The no-trade clause removes the flexibility the Raiders need in order to acquire that Super Bowl caliber quarterback. I think that's a massive mistake. Now, I will say to the Raiders' credit, and to Derek Carr's credit, he is a quarterback that is too good to give up on. I don't think it's wise if you don't have one to just basically punt and either draft one or just, let's say sign Marcus Mariota or just a middling quarterback. Derek Carr is still a good quarterback. Again, he's a top 12 quarterback. He is capable, like we just saw this past season, of getting the Raiders to the playoffs. But really, outside of Russell Wilson, right? Outside of Deshaun Watson, there's really no other quarterback this offseason that you are going to trade Derek Carr for. So it's not like we're just kind of throwing Derek Carr to the side here and say, this guy stinks, trade him for anything, and we just want someone else here. Derek Carr is still a really damn good quarterback, and there's only, I would say, about 10 quarterbacks you'd move him off him for, right? I just said, if he's a top 12 quarterback, there's not many above him that you would trade him for, or there's not really any quarterbacks below him that you would trade him for. And none of those really, for the most part, top 10 quarterbacks are getting traded. So it's not like the Raiders are in desperate need to get rid of Derek Carr. I think he does deserve a chance to show what he's got with the new head coach and Josh McDaniels. I think he does deserve a chance to see how he plays with his former teammate at Fresno State in Devontae Adams. See how now he has a full complement of weapons on the offensive side. You add Chandler Jones on the defensive side as well to get, a little extra pass rush. Derek Carr is still good enough to deserve a chance here with the Raiders. But what I would have done if I was Dave Zeitler, the new GM in Las Vegas, is one of two things. Number one, I would not have given him a contract extension. He had 1 year left in his deal. I would have rather seen how Derek Carr plays this season, see how the Raiders do, and then from there, either pay more because Derek Carr had a great year, led him to the playoffs, maybe even get you a playoff win, or let's say Derek Carr has a middling year or fizzles out, doesn't play well, and for the third time in 4 years, the Raiders collapse down the stretch and miss the playoffs. I said, okay, let's move on. Carr, thanks, but no thanks. You're not a guy that we can truly rely on, and we're going to go elsewhere. I personally would have just played this year out. But if you're going to give him the contract, that's one thing. Don't give him a no trade clause that allows him to control his future. Because the reality is, like I just said, well, Derek Carr is still a top 12 quarterback in the NFL. I don't think he's a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. So I don't think that you could truly feel good about your chances of winning the big game with Derek Carr as your guy, as a signal caller. And realistically, he is the worst quarterback in your division. I get this division is loaded, right? This is historically a deep and talented division, what we've seen with the AFC West, right? No team or no division has had 4 teams kind of go all in and improve and be as good as they're going to be next year. So I get it. It's kind of a circumstance that is different than what we are normally expecting in a division where usually there's 1 or 2 great teams, 1 maybe okay team, and 1 bad team. All 4 are either elite or really damn good teams. So I get it. It's different than normal. But with that said, the reality is Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in your division, and that is not changing within the next 5 years. Justin Herbert's going nowhere. Patrick Mahomes is going nowhere. Russell Wilson's going nowhere. So no matter what, Derek Carr is always going to be the worst quarterback in that division, which makes it tougher for the Raiders to consistently compete, make the playoffs on a consistent basis, and then once you're in there, win playoff games. So now with Derek Carr under contract through 2025, now that he has a no-trade clause and controls his future, the Raiders really can't move off of Carr to get that quarterback that can take them over the top, and that is concerning. Because when you look around the NFL, when you look around how most teams who have an elite quarterback, if you look how they got him, most teams acquired their elite quarterback by ditching a good quarterback, a pretty good quarterback in the process, which Derek Carr would fall under in this category. Like, look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs had Alex Smith. They made the playoffs with Alex Smith. They were winning 10 games on a consistent basis. Well, they traded up to get Patrick Mahomes. They had a good quarterback in Alex Smith, a playoff caliber quarterback in Alex Smith. They traded up, drafted Patrick Mahomes. Boom, he hit. He's taking them to the next level. He's taking them to the next level, and as we know, won a Super Bowl. The Rams had a Super Bowl or a quarterback that took them to the Super Bowl in Jared Goff. They moved off him. They traded him because the Rams had the flexibility to do so. Jared Goff did not have a no-trade clause. They bring in Matthew Stafford. Boom, Super Bowl. Broncos, Russell Wilson. They maintained that flexibility at quarterback. They got Russ. The Bills went to the playoffs the year before Tyrod Taylor. That ensuing draft, traded up, got Josh Allen. The Cardinals, look, Josh Rosen stinks. Right? I'm not trying to sell you that Josh Rosen is a good quarterback, but the Cardinals did something we never, ever see. Ditching a first-round quarterback after 1 year. They drafted him in the top 10. 1 year later, they said, screw this guy. He stinks. We're going to go get Kyler Murray, number 1 overall. They moved off of a first-round quarterback so quickly, or I should say quicker than we've really ever seen. The Browns had a good quarterback, a guy who's won you a playoff game in Baker Mayfield. They said, all right, we're going to get Deshaun Watson. So whether it's the Browns, Cardinals, Bills, Broncos, Rams, Chiefs, all for the most part had a good quarterback in place, but while having that good quarterback in place, maintained flexibility that eventually allowed them to either trade up to draft a franchise quarterback that's taking them to the next level or trade for that elite quarterback. Those teams are not anomalies. That's how you do it. You stay competitive. You have a quarterback that at least is good enough to get to the playoffs. But when you see the moment, when you see the opportunity where you can get an upgrade, you strike. boom, you go pull a trigger on a trade or picking them in the draft. And the Raiders don't have that flexibility. The Raiders, with giving Derek Carr a no-trade clause, lose that flexibility because now Derek Carr is the one in control, not the Raiders. And in every other circumstance I just laid out for you, the team had control of the quarterback, not the other way around. So the lack of the ability for the Raiders to pivot to get an upgrade at quarterback should have presented itself. Now, there's no guarantee it's going to present itself. Let me just throw it out there. But with that said, you still want the flexibility to make a move if the unthinkable happens, and we saw a lot of unthinkable moves this offseason. Russell Wilson getting traded, Deshaun Watson getting traded. Who knows Aaron Rodgers after the Devontae Adams trade? Maybe next year he's back on the block and wants out. You need that flexibility in order to make a move for a quarterback that maybe either wants to go to your team or is disgruntled and looking to go to a playoff contender, and the Raiders can sell themselves on being a Super Bowl caliber team if you acquire an elite quarterback. So you need that flexibility, and the Raiders don't have it. So even with the money, all things considered being reasonable, even with the years, especially on a 3-year deal being reasonable for the Raiders and Derek Carr, the one detail that to me ruins the entirety of this contract extension is a no-trade clause that makes it almost impossible for the Raiders to move on. That to me is a mistake. You need to prioritize flexibility, and the Raiders did not do that. So I'm curious your thoughts here. Are you with me? Did the Raiders make a mistake in giving Derek Carr a new contract extension, or do you think it's the right move? I think the Raiders did the right thing in keeping a top 12 quarterback in town for the next 4 seasons and hitching their wagons to Derek Carr. Love to hear your thoughts, whether it's on Facebook or at Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Also, check us out at the Ryan Hickey Show page on Facebook, newly created. You'll be able to, if you throw that a like on Facebook, that is where every single show will be posted. Every single, clip from the show will be posted as well. A lot of show content will now be kind of cycled into the Ryan Hickey Show page on Facebook. So make sure you like us there. Check us out on Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show, at Ryan Hickey Show. Also, WWSRN_radio. And we're on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So love to hear your thoughts here. Did the Raiders make the right move in giving Derek Carr a contract extension? When we return, the NBA playoffs, the official playoffs, start this weekend. I think there are two players and one team that have immense pressure on them more than anyone else, and I really haven't heard anyone talking about these players or team. We'll discuss the 3 factors, players and or teams, with by far the most pressure on them this postseason. When we return, you listen to the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no 2 investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit them online at
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ryan Hickey Show, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back into the show. So the NBA postseason is getting ready to officially start this weekend. So as it gets set to start looking at the first round of the playoffs, I think there are 2 players and 1 team that by far have the most pressure on them of any players or any teams in the NBA postseason. It's Kyrie Irving, it's James Harden, and it's the Utah Jazz. Those 3 players and or teams, again, Irving, Harden, Jazz, I think have by far the most pressure on this postseason because they all have something in common. Their futures are all tied to this postseason. Here's what I mean. Let's start with Kyrie Irving. I think Kyrie Irving's future, whether he's a Brooklyn Net or whether he's playing somewhere else next year, is tied to how he plays this postseason. He has a player option. He's going to opt out. He's going to become a free agent this offseason. Kyrie Irving's already said he wants to stay in Brooklyn. He's not going to ditch his guy 7 in reference to Kevin Durant. Not the first time we've heard Kyrie Irving make promises of returning to a team. Remember in Boston, he said, I'd love to be here if you'll have me. And as we know, a few months later, he was gone. So Kyrie Irving at least publicly said he wants to stay with the Nets. He envisions himself playing in Brooklyn alongside Kevin Durant for the long haul. But here's the reality. Does Kevin Durant, or here's the bigger question, does Kevin Durant actually want Kyrie Irving as his running mate? Because let's call for what it is. Kyrie Irving is a free agent. So in theory, he has control over his future. But the reality is Kevin Durant is the one calling the shots. Kevin Durant, if he doesn't want Kyrie Irving back on the team, the Nets aren't going to sign Kyrie. I don't care how badly Kyrie wants to return. If KD says no, the Nets will say no. So if Kyrie Irving struggles this postseason, if the Nets fall to the Celtics and it's 6-game series, but Kyrie Irving struggles for most of it or gets hurt again, are we sure? Ask yourself, are we sure Kevin Durant wants Kyrie Irving back? This has nothing to do with his talent on the floor. Kyrie Irving's a great player. But the reality is, Kyrie Irving's career, and especially his Nets tenure, has been highlighted by unreliability. And if you're Kevin Durant, do you really want to hitch your wagons to someone you truly can't trust? Because if we look back so far at Kyrie Irving's just the Nets tenure, we had the entire vaccine fiasco this year, right? He was ineligible for basically half the home games until a few weeks ago. But if say, Ryan, the vaccine mandate was lifted, he's now playing home games. He is now good to go. And outside of Toronto, if they play him in the playoffs, he is going to be suited up for every single game. Okay, fine. But that's the thing. Here's the thing. It's not just the vaccine situation where he was unvaccinated that Kevin Durant can't have trust in Kyrie. If you go back to last season, he went MIA in the middle of the season for 2 weeks without telling anyone. You remember that? Early in the year. Just disappeared. Didn't give a reason for it. He was seen on social media at a birthday party. Didn't really, say too much about it. When he returned, he didn't really answer any questions or take accountability to explain himself. He went MIA for 2 weeks. Let's say he won't do that again. The first season he was in Brooklyn, when Kevin Durant missed the entirety of the season with that Achilles injury that he was rehabbing from, Kyrie just played 20 games. That's it. 20 games on the court in that first season in Brooklyn. So his first year in Brooklyn, he barely played a third of the season. The second year, he went MIA for 2 weeks without telling anyone and then got hurt in the playoffs. And then this season, he was ineligible for almost half the season Because he didn't want to get the vaccine. And if you look too, if you tell me, look, he's eligible, and now all that matters for the Nets and Kevin Durant is the postseason, how he plays, well, also going on the unreliability factor, Kyrie Irving has not exactly always been available for playoff games. Since he made the shot, right? If you go back to his postseason, since making that epic shot for the Cavs in Game 7 to eventually win the finals for them against the Warriors, since that game, Kyrie Irving has played in 36 playoff games. He has missed 26 playoff games. So it's not like he's been on the court come postseason time anyway. He missed the entirety of the postseason in his first year in the bubble. Last year, as we know, he got hurt late in the series against the Bucks and missed the last 3 games, which really turned the tide of the series. So you can't even rely on Kyrie Irving from a health perspective to be available in the biggest games of the season, because the last 2 years, he's played in 36 playoff games, but he's missed 26 playoff games. So there's no doubt in Kyrie's talent. And we just saw it in the playing game on Tuesday, in case anyone forgot, dropping 34 points on 12 of 15 shooting and started off making his first 12 shots. The guy was unconscious. And again, when he's on the court, when he's available and healthy, he is still one of the best players in the NBA. But the issue if you're Kevin Durant is the lack of trust. His performance, his availability is not consistent. And for Kevin Durant, who is turning 34 next season, do you really want to rely on someone who is as inconsistent as Kyrie Irving has been the last few years? I question it. So if this is a postseason where Kyrie struggles, is up and down, misses a game or two because injury, or just struggles from the field, Kevin Durant's got to look in the mirror. Because if the Nets lose to the Celtics in the first round this year, 3 years of Kevin Durant and Kyrie, obviously 1 without KD there. So 1 year Kyrie, 2 with KD and Kyrie. That's resulted in 1 playoff win or 1 playoff series win. That's it. If they lose to the Celtics, we are looking at the reality of the KD-Kyrie duo winning 1 playoff series so far. That's not what they signed up for. So I think Kevin Durant makes a move. If Kyrie struggles or is unavailable in a few games, I do think Kevin Durant says, you know what? I'm going to get a new partner. I'm going to get someone else in here that I can rely on in the regular season to be more available and in the postseason to be there next to me. There's a lot of pressure on Kyrie Irving this postseason to earn his keep. Speaking of earning your keep, the same thing to me can be said for James Harden. Just like Kyrie Irving's future, to me, is dependent on how he plays this postseason, James Harden's future with the Sixers, I think, is equally as dependent on how he plays in this postseason. If James Harden's in the postseason like we have seen him almost every year of his career, where he struggles, he's insanely inefficient, and shrinks in the big moment. If that happens again, which is so far it's happened in every single year of the playoffs he's been in, if it happens again in Philly this postseason, there is no justification for the Sixers bringing him back. I don't care if Daryl Morey and James Harden are best friends. I don't care what the Sixers gave up in order to acquire him. There is no justification. You cannot, to me, then bring back James Harden on a big-time extension when he struggles in the postseason yet again. We have seen the sample size be big enough already in previous seasons, and we have seen him on different teams now, with whether it's the Nets recently, with whether it was the Rockets, where he struggles to play well in the postseason. And if this happens again in Philly, he is going to be a free agent this offseason, and I don't see how you can truly, if you're Daryl Morey with a straight face, sell your fan base, and more importantly, sell Joel Embiid on James Harden being the answer and being the difference maker to winning a title in Philly. If he struggles, you got to let him walk, or you got to do a sign and trade. One of the two. You cannot bring James Harden back next season if he does what he has consistently done in the postseason, which is shrink. Because if you were Daryl Morey, your obligation is to the team, is to really Joel Embiid. I don't care if you're best friends with James Harden. Joel Embiid's situation is different than most stars. His prime is shorter, right? That's just a fact. We know the injury history for Embiid. Your window is smaller than most star players built around, that teams have in the NBA. So when you have a short prime and a shorter window to win a title with your star playing the best basketball of his career, you can't waste years with players who can't get it done. And that's what right now James Harden is. He can't get it done. And you look at, too, reportedly, before the trade was even made, Embiid was more pushing for Bradley Beal at the deadline before he got injured than James Harden. He had to be sold on Harden coming to Philly. So if things flop in the playoffs, if Harden struggles and they lose to the Raptors in the first round, I can't see Embiid saying, let's run it back, bring back James Harden. I think he will be on board with bringing in someone else. I think he'd rather see another trade or another signing than having James Harden come back to Philly. So this postseason, I think, is massive for the future of James Harden. If he struggles, I think there's a real chance Philly moves on. Whether Daryl Morey wants to or not, I think you got to put the priorities of Embiid and what he wants first and foremost, and you can't hitch your wagons to a guy in James Harden who's getting older, who's getting slower, and again, as we know, throughout the entirety of his career, has always struggled in the postseason. If we get another classic James Harden postseason performance, I think his time in Philly is over. So Kyrie Irving and James Harden, two players where I do think their futures are tied to how they play in the postseason. And the one team I think that is truly under the most pressure, it's not the Suns, it's not the Bucks, it's not the Nets, it's not the Heat. It's the Jazz. The Jazz, not that they have finals expectations. Really, the Jazz expectations this season is to win a playoff series. That's it. Bare minimum, get out of the first round. If they don't, if they lose to a Luka-less Mavericks team in the first round of the playoffs, big changes are coming. There's no team that's going to blow up their squad more if they have an early postseason exit than the Utah Jazz. I'm telling you right now, if the Jazz lose to the Mavericks in the first round of the playoffs, big changes are coming. Whether it's trading Rudy Gobert, whether it's Donovan Mitchell forcing his way out, whether it's trading both and starting over, big changes are coming in Utah if they lose in the first round yet again. And especially big changes are coming when you look at now the break they are getting with Luka Doncic's injury. Right now, that calf injury that he suffered, the calf strain that he suffered back on Sunday, the last game of the regular season, has really left the Mavs in a bind here. His status for game one right now is uncertain. Adrian Wojnarowski yesterday on ESPN was basically saying that it's unlikely he's going to play for game one. Calf injuries, calf strains, usually, right, it depends on the player and it depends on, the severity of the injury, which we do not know yet. The Mavericks have not released the severity yet. But usually it's, 2 to 3 week injury before things start to get better. So 2 to 3 weeks is halfway into round one. So if Luka can't play early on in the series, and if you're the Jazz, you get a break by missing the best player on the Mavs and one of the best players and one of the best playoff players in all of the NBA, you got to win that series. Because even if he returns, even if Luka plays game one, he's nowhere near 100%. He's going to be limited. So you got to take advantage of one of the best players in the NBA, either missing time or not being 100%. The Jazz got to capitalize. You have to win that series. I'm telling you, big changes are happening if they don't, because if you look at right now, the past few years, if Utah loses this series against the Mavericks, it's the third heartbreaking postseason collapse in a row. You can only take so much pain before, the definition of insanity kicks in and you're doing the same thing over and over and over again without changing anything. If you go back to the bubble, they're up 3-1 on the Nuggets, blew that. Blew a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the bubble in 2020. Last year, you're the number one seed in the NBA. Second round of the playoffs, taking on a Clippers team that has never in their history been to a conference finals, and they lose Kawhi Leonard in game 4. The series is tied 2-2, and the Clippers lose Kawhi Leonard to an ACL injury that we know he later needs surgery for. You cannot lose games 5 and 6, and that's exactly what the Jazz did. And blew a 25-point lead in game 6 to end their season. You talk about a heartbreak. 3-1 lead blowing that is bad enough. Then the next season, when the Clippers lose their best player in Kawhi Leonard, you lose the next 2 games without him to get yourself eliminated from the playoffs. There is nothing that could justify right now the Jazz running things back if they, for the third season in a row, lose a heartbreaking series and lose a series to which one of the best players on the opposing team is hurt. No other team is that much on the line. Right? You look at the Nuggets. Are the Nuggets blowing things up if they lose in the first round to the Warriors? No. Are the Warriors blowing things up if they lose and reverse to the Denver Nuggets, who are shorthanded in the first round? No. Suns are not doing anything. The Sixers, like I said, I think would move James Harden, but it's not like they're tearing it down. They're not going to trade Embiid. They're not going to just completely go into a rebuild. Bucks aren't changing. The Heat aren't making drastic moves. Name whatever team. The Nets aren't making too many drastic moves. No team is going to look different from right now, this time to next season more if they lose than the Utah Jazz. The Jazz right now, the only team that are in a true serious situation where things will be blowing up on that team if they lose in the first round. No other team has that pressure to get out of the first round more than the Utah Jazz this season. So when you look around as the NBA playoffs get set here to start, I think by far the two players with the most pressure on them to perform are Kyrie Irving and James Harden, because both of their statuses for next season, I think, are contingent upon how they play in the playoffs. If Kyrie Irving struggles, I think Kevin Durant says, you know what, I got to go. Time to cut the cord. Let's get someone else in here that's more reliable. And the same thing can be said by Embiid and the Sixers. If James Harden does what James Harden does in the postseason and struggles yet again, is inefficient, can't get many shots down, and just struggles, I think Embiid is going to say, I got a short window here. We're going to bring in someone else that I know that can get the job done. I'm not going to hitch my wagons to someone I know who can't get the job done in James Harden. And for the Jazz, I think serious changes are coming for the Jazz if they lose in the first round to a Mavericks team that either misses Luka Doncic for most of the series or hasn't played for most of the series, but be severely hampered in doing so with that calf strain injury. So by far the most pressure is the Jazz to me team-wise in the playoffs, and then the two players, James Harden and Kyrie Irving. How about yourself? Which team in your mind has the most pressure on them so far in the playoffs? Love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show, or on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Make sure you comment there. And which player in your mind has the most pressure on him? Is it Chris Paul, who doesn't have a ring, who arguably right now, looking at least the West, has the best chance to get back to the finals? And I think right now the Suns have the best chance to win the finals of any team. They are my finals champion. Is it Chris Paul to finally get that ring? Is it Kyrie Irving? Is it James Harden, or is it someone else? Love to get your thoughts again on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Who is the most pressure on him, team or player? When we return, speaking of pressure, Baker Mayfield this offseason, I think, has a lot of pressure to find the right situation for him in order to get his career back on track. He spoke on a podcast yesterday. I want to play some clips because I'll be honest, I'm a Baker fan. I think he can succeed. I'm rooting for him to succeed. But hearing him talk yesterday at a podcast has me concerned that he still doesn't get it. And his future, it's not looking bright. We'll explain why when we return us into the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing? I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I'll be honest, I'm a Baker Mayfield fan. I think he's gotten an unfair shake at times in Cleveland. I think he is better than he, for the most part, gets credit for. And I do think Baker Mayfield is a quarterback, if the situation around him is right. I'm not saying he's leading a team to the Super Bowl himself, but if he's in the right situation, I do think Baker Mayfield can be a successful franchise quarterback, and I do think he can lead a team to a Super Bowl. I do. He needs a situation to be around him that is very good, but again, I think Baker is still a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. With that said, though, the one thing that right now is hurting Baker Mayfield, the one thing that's, I think, going to really hinder his ability to have success moving forward is his attitude. I think Baker Mayfield really, since the entire Deshaun Watson interest even started from the Browns, I think personally he's handled this all the wrong way by basically wanting out of Cleveland before a Deshaun Watson trade was even made official to kind of now yesterday he was on a podcast, which will play a few clips here in a second, about him kind of talking about his future. I think Baker Mayfield's attitude right now is the biggest thing that's hurting his success moving forward. I want to play for one example here, what he said yesterday about his future, right? He was on a podcast called You Never Know, and he was asked, hey, what is kind of your future looking like in your mind? Do you think where will you be playing next season? Here's Baker's answer.
This would have been about a week and a half ago. I would have said Indianapolis. Seattle, I mean, probably the most likely option. But even then, and where you're sitting, you don't give a I'm ready for the next chapter.
All right, so he says Seattle is the most likely option. Was it convincing? Absolutely not. But the reality is Baker Mayfield's looking at this the wrong way. If Baker wants to become a successful franchise quarterback again, which he does, playing for the Seahawks in 2022 is not how you're going to accomplish that. The Seahawks right now are tanking. The Seahawks don't have a lot around the quarterback position right now that gives Baker, if he was to go there, a chance to succeed. I think they're going to trade away DK Metcalf. I don't think right now they are in the interest of winning. I don't care what Pete Carroll and John Snyder say. What they have done, their actions speak louder than words. Right now, their actions show you they are looking to tank. So going to Seattle, just because right now Drew Lock is a quarterback in Seattle and it gives you the best chance to get back on the field in 2022, I don't think is the right attitude for Baker Mayfield, because for him, he should be worried about, I think, and more importantly, prioritizing going to the right destination. And that is, to me, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think right now being a backup for the 2022 season makes more sense for Baker than going to a bad spot like the Seahawks just to get back on the field as quickly as you can. Because if you go to a team like the Buccaneers, which I think is the perfect team for Baker right now for 2022, think about it. You have 1 year left in the deal. So you go to Tampa, you back up Tom Brady. You learn some humility. You are able to improve your game from literally the best quarterback to ever play the position. So you get a little humble. You improve your game. You kind of earn some brownie points along the way by sitting behind Tom Brady. You get that boost, that clout that will kind of improve your stock just by being associated with Brady. And then from there, I mean, to me, it's a guarantee Tom Brady's leaving Tampa Bay next season. Whether it's to retire again, whether it's to go play for the Dolphins, there's too much smoke and too many stories linking Tom Brady to the Dolphins this offseason that have kept popping up. For that, for me, when Tom Brady's a free agent after the season, it makes it almost impossible to think he's not going to Miami next year. I think he is. So by hook or by crook, I think Tom Brady is going to be out of Tampa Bay next season and will either be a Dolphin or retired. So Tom Brady leaving the Buccaneers next season opens the door for Baker Mayfield to take over, be the quarterback. Because if you look at it right now, Tampa Bay with their signings, right, signing Chris Godwin to a long-term deal, signing Leonard Fournette to a long-term deal, having a lot of other younger players signed for longer deals, this is not a team that's going to burn it down, let's say, when Tom Brady leaves. They are still going to be in the interest of winning and still have a solid core built that is going to mean the Buccaneers will be a sustainable winner even when Tom Brady leaves. So if you're Baker Mayfield, you have an awesome opportunity to step in for Tom Brady in 2023, take over a team that is still by far the best team in the division, take over a team that is still one of the top teams in a weak NFC, and have some familiarity with the offense to where you are able to have success. Look at right now the trend for a few teams. Look at what the Saints did. The Saints, or Jameis Winston, I should say, went to the Saints in 2020. He served as Drew Brees' backup. He sat behind Drew. Jameis was the former number 1 overall pick. That's a reality check to go to a team which you know you're going to be the backup. Jameis did it, sat behind Drew Brees for a year, and what happened? Drew Brees retired. Guess who was inserted as a starting quarterback in 2021? Jameis Winston. He gets hurt. Guess who's reinstated and reinserted as a quarterback for 2022? Jameis Winston. The Saints went with familiarity because Jameis Winston knew the team, knew the playbook, knew the system. So even though you have a new quarterback, the adjustment is not as drastic. Baker Mayfield can do the same exact thing. Former number 1 overall pick, sit behind Tom Brady, learn the system, and put yourself in a situation where you are the most likely successor for Tom Brady and take over a team that is still ready to win, still ready to have success, and should win their division, and will be still one of the top teams and one of the top Super Bowl contenders in the NFC in 2023. So Baker Mayfield right now, in his mind, then talk about the Seahawks and saying it's the most likely destination, is prioritizing starting. That, to me, is a mistake. Baker Mayfield should not be focused on going to a destination where he can be the starter right away in 2022, because most of those teams that are interested in him playing right away are not very good. Don't have a lot around the quarterback position right now. So I would rather, if I'm Baker Mayfield, take a step back. Go to a situation like Tampa Bay where you can be the backup, kind of build your reputation back up, learn a few things, improve your game, and then take over for Tom Brady when he inevitably leaves next season and get yourself back on track to become a real franchise quarterback. Don't prioritize playing. Don't get yourself beat up. Don't go to a bad team in Seattle that has no offensive line, no run game, and I think still most likely no number 1 receiver in DK Metcalf, and kind of have your stats look bad and have your play be bad because there's nothing around you. Baker's a quarterback, admittedly, while I think he can have success and be a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, he needs help. He is not a quarterback that can really carry a team and elevate them past their potential. So with not a lot around Baker in Seattle, he's not going to turn that team into a magical 10-7 team. That's just not happening. So being a backup for me makes the most sense for Baker next season in order to get himself back on track to being a franchise quarterback. The issue is when you hear Baker talk about, wanting to go to Seattle or thinking it's the most likely option, he is prioritizing playing in 2022, which I think is a mistake. I think it's more harmful than helpful. Be a backup. Look at this realistically. Take a piece of humble pie and take a step back in order to truly have your career take a massive step forward in 2023 and beyond. Look at Mitch Trubisky. Look, the Steelers, I get there's not a lot of high expectations for Mitch Trubisky, but his stock was never lower than it was after he left Chicago. He backs up Josh Allen for a year. Does he do anything substantial? No, he does not. He doesn't play. He doesn't, all of a sudden sub in and lead the Bills to an improbable playoff run. He took a few knees and he took a few handoffs at the end of blowout games. But just being behind Josh Allen boosted Mitch Trubisky's stock high enough to where the Steelers said, we'll give you a 2-year deal. We'll let you be the starter. Again, Jameis Winston, after throwing 30 interceptions in one season, setting a record, went to New Orleans, sat behind Drew Brees, and got the starting job. The backup role has treated quarterbacks who need some rehab well. Baker Mayfield needs some career rehab. Going to Tampa Bay, becoming a backup, getting some humility, sitting behind Tom Brady for a year, learning something and just boosting your stock by being around Tom Brady, and then setting yourself up in a position to take over for Tom Brady when he inevitably leaves in 2023 and take over a roster that is playoff ready, that should win the division, and will still be a Super Bowl caliber team in a weak NFC. That is the best course of action for Baker Mayfield this season. I hope he realizes that. I really do. Taking a step back is by far the best option for Baker Mayfield. But it doesn't stop there. He talked a lot in this podcast. It was an hour and a half long. A lot of quotes were out there. I want to play one more. Because I want to have you listen to Baker Mayfield and how he thought the Browns disrespected him. I think he's missing the boat here as well. But here's Baker Mayfield saying, basically, the Browns treated him unfairly.
I feel disrespected, 100%. Because I was told one thing and they completely did another. That's what I'm in the middle of right now. And you know what? Okay, I got my taste of it because I've had 4 different head coaches in 4 years, a bunch of different coordinators. I've had, talk about the highs. They always come back. Mm-hmm. They always come back. Yeah. But I had great times my rookie year. I didn't start in the beginning. I came in and got to have fun the back half of the year. 2019 sucked. 2020 was great. Made the playoffs. 2021 was miserable. It's I'm just looking for stabilization right now, and I know what I need to do for me to be the best version of me and to be able to lead an organization. And I'm in a good place right now.
So Baker says he felt like he was disrespected by the Browns. Look, I'll say it. Baker has to look at reality. He needs a reality check and has to look at a situation, no matter how difficult it may be, and realize what happened. He may have felt like the Browns disrespected him, but I'll say this. The Browns went about it the right way. Baker Mayfield needs to admit and look in the mirror and realize Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback than him. I get it's hard to admit that when you're a competitor. I get it's hard in the moment to say, this guy's better than me. I know athletes aren't wired that way. But you have to really look at yourself and realize why the Browns, quote-unquote, disrespected you. Because they got an upgrade. If you were a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, there's no questions. There's no sniffing around other quarterbacks. The Browns weren't begging for any other quarterback that wasn't Baker Mayfield. The Browns were only really looking at one quarterback, Deshaun Watson. It was Deshaun Watson or bust. So I really can't sit here and fault the Browns how they operated. They did what was best for their team, and they got an upgrade. They did what was in their best interest, which is really the only thing you can ask for from a team. So I get, and Baker's not wrong, I will say this, in a sense of he did get the short end of the stick in Cleveland. He's not wrong where the first 3 years it was totally dysfunctional. Hugh Jackson, Greg Williams, Freddie Kitchens, it was a nightmare. Until Kevin Stefanski came in, was actually the first professional coach Baker had that actually knew what the hell he was doing. Baker didn't have a chance. Josh Allen in Buffalo had stability the entirety of his career so far in Buffalo. right? There was no clown show with the Bills. Sean McDermott wasn't anywhere near the incapable and incompetent coach that either Hugh Jackson was or Freddie Kitchens was. Josh Allen had a GM and a head coach that had a plan and were sticking to the plan. And Josh Allen, each and every year, incrementally improved because each and every year the Bills were doing stuff to help him, not hurt him. The Browns, frankly, screwed Baker Mayfield early on. Again, they had coaches that didn't know what they were doing. The plan was totally different from one year to the next. He was constantly learning a new offense. And the crappy part for Baker and the unfortunate part is the one offseason he had where the head coach and the offensive system were the same from 2020 to 2021, he got hurt in week 2. It sucks. It really sucks. It's unfair, and I get it. But you know what? Life is unfair sometimes. I get it's easy to say you got to suck it up, but Baker Mayfield really has to look in the mirror and suck it up. You could feel disrespected, but you got to look at reality. The situation was the Browns got a reliable elite quarterback, and they got the only quarterback that was better than you on the market that was available. That's the reality. They weren't going to get Jimmy G. They weren't looking at Kirk Cousins. It was basically Deshaun Watson or bust. If it wasn't for Deshaun Watson, you would be still a Brown. But you got to look. Your play, fair or not, didn't do enough to convince the Browns to keep you. You can make excuses, and I think those excuses are valid. I think what he said with all the ups and downs, the 4 head coaches in 4 years, he's right. There's been a lot that has, fallen a lot of other quarterbacks. Like if Josh Allen was on the Browns side of the Bills, Josh Allen's not on, not the quarterback he is right now. That's for damn sure. He is nowhere near an MVP quarterback. He is nowhere near the consistent quarterback he has developed into in Buffalo if he was taken number 1 overall by the Browns. That's how dysfunctional they were. But again, kind of similar to looking at the spot that you want to play for next year, you have to be realistic in your destination. You got to look in the mirror and realize why the Browns moved off of you and why your best option in 2022 is becoming a backup. I think the perfect destination is Tampa Bay. Take a step back, realize what happened, and move forward from there. For me, that's the only way Baker Mayfield can become successful going forward. I think he can absolutely win a Super Bowl. The situation has to be right. He has to have a really good team around him. I'm not telling you he's going to lead the team to a Super Bowl like Joe Burrow dragged the Bengals there this past season. But if everything is right, the offensive line, the run game, the defense, I think Baker Mayfield is absolutely good enough to lead a team to the Super Bowl and win it. But also part of that goes to Baker Mayfield now becoming realistic and becoming or looking in the mirror and realizing where he is right now, what he has to do. And I'm not 100% convinced, I'll be honest, after hearing that interview, that he exactly has that mindset and he exactly knows what to do. So I'm hoping Baker Mayfield can figure it out, put it together. But right now, hearing that interview does not exactly have me feeling good about the future prospects of Baker Mayfield. So I'm curious your thoughts here. What is the best course of action for Baker Mayfield? Is being a backup in 2022 truly the best option for him, or does it make sense to go to a team like Seattle where he could start right away and just get back on the field? Is Baker better off being a starter in 2022 for a bad team or backing up a good quarterback on a good team and trying to rebuild your image that way? I'd love to hear your thoughts. You could tweet me at Ryan Hickey Show or tweet us at WWSRN_radio. You can write on Facebook. Worldwide Sports Radio Network is our show page. Also, newly created, make sure you throw us a like here. The Ryan Hickey Show is live on Facebook. A brand new show page. Every single clip from the show, every single live show is also posted in there as well. So if you visit Facebook, check us out, the Ryan Hickey Show, throw us a like, and you can find the live stream of the show on that page right there where you can comment. We're also live on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So what is the best course of action for Baker Mayfield in the future? Get your thoughts. And when we come back, the NBA playoffs are starting up this weekend. I think we're going to see 2 first-round upsets. Tell you who those 2 teams are that will pull off the big upset in round number 1. We'll do that when we return. Listen to the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council. Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing bottom line. Treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand or what? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke. Are you okay? I'm having a stroke. Your face looks weird too. I'm having a stroke. Are you having a seizure or something? I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. Or S, speech difficulty. Then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs. Face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals, but I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Alrighty, the NBA playoffs are set to start up. The real playoffs as we wind down the play-in tournament. The real NBA playoffs are set to go down on Saturday, starting up in the first round. I think in what is normally an NBA postseason that doesn't have many upsets, I think we're seeing 2 first-round upsets. A higher seed taking down a lower seed. I think the 2 upsets we're going to see, one in the East and one in the West. In the East, I think the Raptors, the 5 seed, are taking down the Sixers. And in the West, I do think the Jazz are beating the Dallas Mavericks. Now, before we get there, as a reminder, the 10 o'clock hour is always brought to you by LC Designs. Charcuterie boards are perfect for all occasions, so make sure your guests are happily fed with some delicious and aesthetically pleasing charcuterie boards made by Lauren Clark herself. So make sure you check out lcdesignsnyc.com, lcdesignsnyc.com for more information. Let's start with the Raptors and the Sixers. I think there's 2 real reasons why the Raptors are taking down Philly in the first round. Number 1, I don't trust James Harden in the playoffs. Absolutely do not trust him with my life at all. I think now when you are teaming up and you're looking at Philly go into a tough series, you cannot rely on James Harden to give you any sort of big-time contribution. And Joel Embiid, while he has made a tremendous case for the MVP, while he has had a career year and been tremendous, I think it's too much to ask Embiid to carry this team in the playoffs by himself. I do. So the fact that right now the Sixers are almost playing with one hand tied behind their back because that's how much of a liability James Harden is, whether it's his inefficiency, whether it's struggle to make shots, whether it's just his unreliability. I think he's going to be a massive he's going to, not play well for the Sixers. I think that's going to really hurt them and hinder their ability to win. So that's one of the reasons why I think the Sixers are losing. Can't trust James Harden at all. Not to mention the Raptors have a massive coaching advantage in this postseason, in this series, really. Doc Rivers, the guy's an NBA champion. Credit to him. Since that 2008 title with the Boston Celtics, and really since, even going to the finals 2 years later, Doc Rivers is one of the most overrated coaches in all the NBA. He keeps getting opportunities. I don't know why. He's not a very good coach, guys. He's not a very good coach. He doesn't make adjustments well. You hear him talk about the game. He doesn't talk about it in a way that is up to date in how the NBA is played. He's not very good with the media. He's not very creative in giving his team advantages. When you look at the other side, Nick Nurse is arguably the best coach in the NBA. Him, Eric Spoelstra right now, with what those 2 coaches have done and have consistently done, here's a scheme, adjustments, getting the most out of their team. There are arguably no 2 better coaches that are getting the most out and schematically 2 of the brightest minds in the NBA than right now Eric Spoelstra and especially Nick Nurse. So you look at this advantage where everyone should trust Nick Nurse right now, really out-scheming Doc Rivers, making adjustment after adjustment, or Doc Rivers, for the most part, does the same thing over and over again, which is the reason why he is notoriously known for blowing 3-1 leads, mind you. I absolutely trust right now way more Nick Nurse than I do Doc Rivers, a massive coaching advantage in the favor of Toronto. Not to mention the Raptors, I think, are really built for the postseason. They're long. They're physical. They're deep. Pascal Siakam this year has been tremendous. He's really taken his game to the next level. Scotty Barnes has not only injected life into this team, he has been, again, a reliable scorer, reliable playmaker, and has really arguably been the rookie of the year so far. He's been unreal. Fred VanVleet, as we know, a championship player, he's been really solid as well. A lot of contributors for the Raptors on this team. They have a massive coaching advantage, and they don't have James Harden. Not to mention, fair or not, they have an advantage with the rules of Toronto, where Matisse Thybulle will not be able to play, the Sixers' long wing defender. He'll be able to play in Toronto. So he'll miss, games 3 and 4, maybe game 6 if it gets that far. And that's huge because right now the Sixers are not very good defensively. They have Joel Embiid, and that's it. James Harden, Tobias Harris, that you cannot rely on any of these defenders right now to get stops. Matisse Thybulle is really the only reliable defender you have outside of Embiid. Now, with him missing 3 games, potentially, but at least 2, that's huge. That's a huge loss for a team that is deficient on the defensive end of the floor. So I think for all those reasons, we are seeing the Raptors take down the Sixers in the first round of playoffs, and it's going to set off a chain of events. I think Doc will be fired. I don't think James Harden will return for the Sixers. It is going to set the city ablaze, that is for sure. Raptors taking down the Sixers. And I think the Jazz, as a 5 seed, are also beating the 4 seed in the Mavericks, with both upsets being a 5 over 4. Again, not that outrageous or that, going out on a limb. But honestly, the only reason why I'm picking the Jazz in this series is because of Luka Doncic's injury. That's it. Calf injuries can be very fickle. It could be a week. It could be 3 weeks. We have no idea. We don't know the severity of Luka's calf. All we know is that it was confirmed to be a calf strain. It seems very unlikely that he's going to play in game 1. I'd personally be shocked right now with the way things are trending if he plays. And if he does play, reality is he's not going to be 100%. He's not going to be anywhere near 100%, and that's going to hurt his impactfulness and his ability to take over a game. So if you are the Jazz right now, who come in for the most part fully healthy, ready to go, you are taking on either a Luka-less Mavs team or a severely hurt Luka-led Mavs team. You got to finish the job, and I do think they will. Utah's going to get it done. They got Rudy Gobert. You got Donovan Mitchell. Well, this team is not really built for the postseason, right? Their style of play is not conducive to postseason success. I do think it's going to be enough to take down the Mavericks in round 1. Again, just because that Luke injury is so devastating. If he was healthy, I think the Mavs win the series. Easily. Easily. If game 5 games, 6 games. I think it'll be a shorter series if Luka's healthy, because I just don't trust the Jazz come postseason time. But with that said, no Luka or a limited Luka, I think that really favors the Jazz. They will get it done. So the 2 upsets I think we're seeing in the first round of the playoffs, Raptors beating the Sixers, Jazz beating the Mavericks. Now I think 3 teams are going to breeze to their first round. The Heat, the Bucks, and Suns. Heat will have the play-in seed as the 8th seed. We'll find out Friday whether it's the Cavaliers, whether it's the Hawks. Either way, I think this Heat team defensively is going to suffocate either Cleveland or Atlanta, and then I think they're going to go through the series pretty quickly. This is a team in the Heat that's built for the postseason. They got Jimmy Butler. They got Kyle Lowry. Those 2 are just dogs. They have that mentality that you need come postseason time on the defensive end of the floor. They're relentless. They grind out games. I'm a little concerned offensively for this Heat team, and I don't think they're going to make the conference finals, or definitely at least not the NBA finals. But I will say through at least the first round of the playoffs, the matchup they will get, whether it's the Cavs or whether it's the Hawks, is favorable, and the defense will lock down either Trae Young, lock down Darius Garland, and the Heat, I think, will cruise in the first round of the playoffs. I know it's not, the craziest thing in the world to say, an number 1 seed is going to cruise by an 8 seed, but I do think the Heat will cruise through. Speaking of cruising, the Bucks are cruising through Chicago. They are sweeping the Bulls, no doubt about it. You look at this Bulls team, we can't even call them frauds anymore because they have hit the skids, and their record-wise, which was one of the tops in the NBA, is really kind of fallen off a cliff the last 6 weeks or so. But the Bulls have done something very impressive. They have lost every single game they have played against a good team. Literally every single one. They have played 19 teams this season that have either been in the top 3 in the East or top 3 in the West. The Bulls' record in those 19 games against either top 3 teams in the East or West, 0-19. 0-19. Literally, not one win against a top 3 team in the East or West. As we know in the NBA, players sit a lot. Teams just have off nights. You're coming off back-to-backs. There is enough variance in the NBA in the regular season in one regular season game to win one. I mean, hell, the Thunder have, beaten some of the best teams in the NBA. You can't tell me the Bulls can be 0-19 against those opponents. And I don't think that 0 in the win column is changing. Bucks are going to blow by them, sweep them easily. Milwaukee right now is the best team in the East. They're peaking at the right time. I don't think the Bulls stand a chance. Bucks are going to be sleepwalking through that first round series against Chicago. And the Suns, similar to Heat, I think whoever their playing opponent is, whether it's the Clippers, whether it's the Pelicans, they are going to be fine. They're going to breeze through. There's no weakness in the Suns team. They've been the best team in the NBA since the start. You got Devin Booker playing like an MVP level. Chris Paul right now is running this offense to perfection. DeAndre Ayton is having the most consistent year of his career. Mikal Bridges has been a defensive player of the year candidate. They are clicking in all cylinders offensively and defensively. There's no weakness, and I don't think there'll be any bump in the road for the Suns in their first round series. So the Suns, the Heat, the Bucks, all three teams, I think are going to breeze through their first round series. And I think we're going to get 3 tremendous opening round series, 3 great ones. Where I think that the higher seed is going to win in the Celtics, the Warriors, and the Grizzlies. But we're going to have 3 knockout, drag-out fights that are going to go 6 or 7 games. Celtics, Nets, Warriors, Nuggets, T-Wolves, Grizzlies. I think Boston is beating the Nets. I think it's going to be 6 games. I think it's going to be a great back-and-forth series. It's going to be tight every single game. But the difference for me is the depth of scoring Boston has and their defense. We talk about in the NBA postseason, what? Stars. And we know the Nets have stars. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, that's what everyone's attention goes to. But I think Boston defensively is going to be able to shut them down enough to win this series. Boston comes in number 1 in defensive rating. I know they don't have Robert Williams, which is a huge loss down low, but they match up well with the Nets. Boston does long wings in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who can match up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They have Marcus Smart, another defensive player of the year candidate, playing tremendous basketball and is healthy, which is huge for them as well. He can lock down Kyrie. He can try to take away Bruce Brown or Seth Curry. So right now, the Celtics defensively, even without Robert Williams, I think match up really well to slow down Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Are you going to shut them down every single game? Absolutely not. But if you can just limit those two from going off, the Nets, to me, don't have anyone else you can rely on consistently for scoring. That's a problem. And that, to me, is the reason why the Celtics are going to win. I trust their defense. Offensively, they could score, and the Nets have no chance of stopping them. Kyrie or Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown have been playing some great basketball. Celtics have been one of the hottest teams in the NBA. I think that continues. They get by the Nets in round number 1. I think the Warriors beat the Nuggets. But this is going to be a series where the Steph Curry injury makes it closer than it should be. His game 1 status is up in the air. It's going to be a game-time decision right now. So even if he plays kind of similar to Luka Doncic with the Mavs, he's not going to be fully healthy. And I think that injury, coupled with the fact that Steph Curry's three-point shot has been off this season, the worst of his career, I think that's going to make this series closer than it should be because the Nuggets right now are just depleted. I know Nikola Jokic has made a great run and has a great campaign to win his 2nd consecutive MVP award. He's done so basically without Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray for the entirety of the season. He's been great. He's been tremendous. But with that said, come playoff time, that is where I think you're going to truly feel the loss of those 2 impact players. But again, an evening factor in this series is Steph Curry's health or lack thereof. So it gives the Warrior or the Nuggets a chance. I like the emergence of Jordan Poole. He's been a very good player. But the Warriors are going to need Steph Curry to be on his A game in order to make a deep run in the playoffs. But with that said, I think they still have enough, even if Steph is limited and even misses a game or 2, to get by the Nuggets. But that injury is going to make this series longer than it should be. I have the Warriors in 6. I think Steph does return and does play game 1, but he's going to be, a little iffy with that foot, a little rusty as well. I think that injury is going to make this series an entertaining one, but closer than it really should be if Steph was fully healthy. And what I think on paper right now is going to be the most fun series in terms of excitement, in terms of fan engagement, in terms of just yapping on the floor. Grizzlies Timberwolves is setting up to be one of the most exciting and dramatic first round series we're going to have in this opening round playoff. Memphis, I think, wins in 6, but it is going to be fun because both teams are young. Both teams love to chirp, and both teams got some serious swag. Now, the Grizzlies are led by Ja Morant. All season long, they have been, I don't say cocky, but they have, been talking a big game and backing it up. They're not afraid of anyone. They're not afraid to tell you that they're not afraid of anyone. They talk smack. They back it up. Their home court in Memphis has been tremendous all season long. The fans love this team. It has been a lot of fun watching this Grizzlies team kind of grow up in front of our eyes this season, led by Ja Morant. But on the other side, kind of equally in terms of smack talk and crowd and belief, is the Wolves. They're no slouches either. We saw it, in case you haven't watched a lot of Wolves games, we saw it just on display Tuesday night in the play-in against the Clippers. That crowd was raucous. It felt like Game 7 of the finals. I know a lot of people were clowning the Timberwolves for how they're celebrating after beating the Clippers. That has been an organization, that's been a team, that's been a fan base that has suffered through a lot. They've seen a lot of losing. They have caught a lot of L's. I have no problem with them celebrating, even though I will admit it was funny as hell seeing everyone clown them and kind of pretending that, making fun of the Grizzlies or making fun of the Timberwolves for celebrating like they won the finals instead of just making the playoffs. But with that said, though, they got a reason to be fired up. And again, that emotion that they play with, the emotion that they showed on Tuesday night is what they bring into the series every single night. Patrick Beverley is one of the best agitators in all the NBA. He gives that team, that Wolves team, an edge that we saw kind of really be put on display Tuesday night. Anthony Edwards plays with a chip on his shoulder and kind of plays to show everyone up. Karl-Anthony Towns has no problem kind of running his mouth and chirping to other opponents as well. This is going to be a fun series where both teams they are young. They feel like they have something to prove, and they want to kind of play well, but also talk about how well they play. It's going to be an intense series. You're going to see a lot of technical fouls, a lot of chirp back and forth. Both home crowds are going to be into it. It is going to be electric. I cannot wait. I think this is arguably the series I'm most excited to watch. And the Grizzlies get it done in 6. But you talk about back and forth. You talk about emotion. You talk about passion. This is almost going to feel like an NCAA tournament game for 6 games. It's going to be that intense, that passionate. It was going to be a lot of fun. Grizzlies do win, but man, am I excited. So I think we'll see 2 first-round upsets in the playoffs. I think the Jazz are taking down the Mavericks, 5-4. I think the 5-4 in the East is going down as well. Raptors taking down the Sixers. So I'm curious your thoughts here. Let's hear them on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show or WWSRN_radio. Which team is pulling off an upset? Will we see an upset in the first round of the playoffs? And if so, who? Which team is pulling off a first-round upset in your mind? Again, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Comment there. We'll get your thoughts. And when we return, I want to get into the future of Jordan Love for the Packers. They made a massive mistake in the handling of their young quarterback. I'll tell you what that mistake was and why when we return this into the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
Huh, so it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part. SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh, tell the world I see the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape? You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel? Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door. When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood. Or an earthquake is destroying buildings. A tornado is tearing through town. Or a hurricane strikes. Best time, perhaps, today. During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
I was telling what it means to be a man. Now I've reached that age, I've tried to do all those things the best I can.
All right, Ryan Hickey back with you here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So a lot of quarterback talk today. Hit on Baker Mayfield and his comments before. And I want to kind of hit on some more comments, but not from a quarterback himself, but from a team president. Because right now, Mark Murphy spoke earlier this week about the future of Jordan Love. And before we play the comments, I just want to say this. The Packers, in my opinion, have totally and completely bungled the handling of Jordan Love this offseason. I think they should have traded him. I think they are, insane for kind of holding on to him. But when I play Mark Murphy's comments here for a second, they, to me, sound like someone who has no plans of trading Jordan Love and has a future vision of him one day taking over the team. This sounds like Jordan Love is going to be the heir to Aaron Rodgers whenever he does retire. Take a listen to what Mark Murphy said on the Tom Grossi podcast earlier this week when talking about the future of Jordan Love.
Yeah, I think this preseason is going to be very important for him. And we think he can be a good player, but, we haven't really seen enough. And, Sure. So I think this preseason will be good for him, and he's a talented player. I know that's the decision to draft him has been questioned by a number of people, but it's such an important position in our league that investing in future assets at the quarterback position is. Well, I mean, look how they said the same thing when we drafted Aaron.
All right, so a lot there from Mark Murphy. And the last part, to me, cements the fact that the Packers are going to hold on to Jordan Love through the entire 5 years he's under contract so far of his rookie deal. They said the same thing When we drafted Aaron Rodgers, Mark Murphy referencing when the Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers back in 2005 with Brett Favre still on the roster. As we know, Brett Favre played 3 more seasons after they drafted Aaron Rodgers. But the situations here are totally different. Number one, because Brett Favre was wavering and thinking about and talking about retirement every single year, while Aaron Rodgers has only talked about playing into his 40s and playing longer, not shorter. With that said, though, the Packers still drafted Jordan Love, and you heard Mark Murphy say towards the end of the clip, it's always important to invest future resources into the quarterback position. So for me, when you hear Mark Murphy talk, whether it's referencing the Aaron Rodgers draft, whether it's saying you want to invest in future options for your quarterback, or basically openly downgrading your quarterback's value, right? Him saying earlier in the clip, we want to see Jordan Love more. We think he could be good, but we don't, we haven't seen enough yet. If you were truly trying to trade Jordan Love, you were not saying that. You were not painting him out to be a question mark. Instead, publicly, you are painting him out to be a known commodity, which is a good quarterback if you were in the market for trading him. So I think they should have traded him. But here Mark Murphy talk, there is no indication. And there's no motivation from the Packers to trade him. But I think that's a massive mistake. Like keeping Jordan Love on the roster for another 2 to 3 years and basically having him be the heir apparent, taking over for Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers does retire, I think it's a bad move. Excuse me. It's a massive mistake because Jordan Love is a dead weight to this team. Jordan Love really serves the Packers no good, and here's what I mean by that. When you make the decision to bring back Aaron Rodgers, when you sign him to the extension that they did, you are, in essence, selling your soul to win a Super Bowl within the next 2 or 3 years. So you have to do, if you're the Packers, in bringing Aaron Rodgers back, everything possible to ensure this team is ready to win a Super Bowl. And keeping a rookie quarterback on the team instead of trading him as a valuable asset only hurts the Packers, not helps. Because when you look at his value, when you look at the Packers, trying to put themselves in the best position possible to succeed, when you trade away Devontae Adams, you need now a replacement. I know they got a first and second round pick back from the Raiders, but you need as many assets as possible in order to make your team as good as you can. To the Packers' credit, they have been successful, very successful in drafting and developing players, right? That's really basically been their model of consistency for really the last few decades. So if you are a team that is usually drafting very well, wouldn't you want to have the most draft picks available to at least build and surround Aaron Rodgers with good young talent? And the way to do that is not only by trading away Devontae Adams, which, they had no choice if you listen to the Packers to do, but also trading Jordan Love, because Jordan Love's value is never going to be higher than it was this offseason. And we went into an offseason where there was a lot of teams that needed a quarterback, but there weren't many options to get a good quarterback, right? You had Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson, really the only 2 elite bona fide stud quarterbacks that were traded. You had teams that were desperate and then decided to take a risk on Mitch Trubisky, take a risk on Jameis Winston, take a risk on Marcus Mariota, take a risk on Drew Lock, take a risk on Carson Wentz for the 3rd time if you're the Commanders. There's a lot of average to below average quarterbacks that were moved. Whereas if you look at Jordan Love, I bet you almost every one of those teams I just listed, the Steelers, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Panthers, depending on what they do in the draft, the Falcons, the Commanders, all would have taken Jordan Love over the quarterback they eventually signed or traded for. So you have a lot of desperate teams in need of a quarterback without a lot of options out there. The quarterback draft class this year is weak, so you don't have many teams kind of lining up their draft in order to find the next franchise quarterback. Maybe the Panthers, maybe the Seahawks are teams that are, could take a quarterback, but there's not a lot of teams that are dead set on taking a QB this draft. So Jordan Love's value for his age, being only a 3rd year in the league or going on his 3rd year in the league, the fact that there weren't a lot of good quarterbacks out there, and the fact that the draft class was weak, by far this was the most valuable Jordan Love was going to be. So you would have gotten the highest return. I've talked in the show in the past about getting a 1st round pick. I mean, maybe I was reaching a little bit, but I think they could have gotten some good value trade-wise. Second-round pick, maybe 2 2s, et cetera, because Jordan Love still is a first-round pick, and he has promise. And he's still young on a cheap contract. So you could have gotten assets to put around Aaron Rodgers, whether it's the receiving core, whether it's on the defense, whether it's offensive line reinforcements. You could have, for a team that drafts really well, gotten extra draft picks to ensure Aaron Rodgers, has the tools he needs to succeed. Or get those extra draft picks and trade him away for a known commodity like a DK Metcalf, like another receiver that could be on the block. So you could have used those draft assets to either trade for a player or draft a player that could be there for the long haul. Instead, the Packers are holding on to Jordan Love in the hopes, in the thought that he is going to someday replace Aaron Rodgers, and they are willing, it sounds like, according to Mark Murphy, basically ride through the entirety of his rookie deal in order to do that, and that is a massive waste. Like, if you look, when you re-sign Aaron Rodgers again to a 3-year extension, right now, the last thing Green Bay should be worried about is the future. When you sign Aaron Rodgers to that 3-year extension, you keep Aaron Rodgers in a Green Bay uniform, you are now dead set on trying to win a Super Bowl. That is the only goal. Nothing short of that is considered a success. Aaron Rodgers wants to win, and by signing him and keep him there, you want to win as well. I know the Packers have always been an organization that has one eye in the future and one eye in the present. That's the reason why they drafted Jordan Love in the first place. They wanted a succession plan in place in case things went sideways, because they clearly did not see the MVPs or the back-to-back MVP seasons that Aaron Rodgers did have coming. So they were worried about instead the future when now you have another option or another chance when Aaron Rodgers signs a deal to ditch the future and worry about the short term right here and now. Having a succession plan for Aaron Rodgers 3 years down the road does the Packers no good in terms of winning a Super Bowl right now. So keeping a quarterback, a valuable asset on your roster when you could have gotten draft picks back, to me, is a massive waste of resources. There's no hope. There's no reason right now to be thinking 5 years down the road, hoping Jordan Love pans out. Because guess what? If Aaron Rodgers sees the duration of a 3-year contract and then retires, well, guess what? Jordan Love is going to be out of his rookie deal. And then you're going to have to make a decision and give Jordan Love some sort of extension without seeing any play from him, without even really knowing whether he can be the successor or not. Mark Murphy just said it. They don't know what they have in Jordan Love. Now, either he's telling the truth and they truly have not seen enough in practice, which is a little concerning, or in the preseason, which is also a little concerning, to decipher whether Jordan Love can be the guy or not, or Mark Murphy's trying to play coy and feeling good about Jordan Love, but not trying to get the fans hyped up too much, which again, when he's sitting for 3 years, I'm not sure if Jordan Love's also going to be on board for sitting around for 3 years. So if you're forced to trade Jordan Love next year, his value goes down. And if you want to keep him for 5 years, you're going to have to give him a new deal without knowing what he is or if he's any good. Like, what if they see more in the preseason and he stinks and he's not good? Well, good luck trying to trade him. And all of a sudden now you're going to have a dead weight where your succession plan was totally blown up. I think the Packers made a massive mistake in keeping Jordan Love because, again, all you're doing is hurting your future. Forget your future. All you do is hurting the here and now. This team should have one goal in its mind right now, winning a Super Bowl. What can we do to put the most around Aaron Rodgers? The answer, to me, is not keeping Jordan Love around. Because if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, the season's over anyway. And you right now can get the most back for Aaron Rodgers that you could instead of keeping him on the roster. Forget about 3 years from now. Forget about 2025 season. Worry about 2022. The best way to do that is by trading Jordan Love. The Packers are not doing that. The window is passed. Teams have gotten their quarterbacks. There's no market for Jordan Love anymore. So Mark Murphy's talking about how he doesn't know what Jordan Love is. They want to see more from the preseason. It's a big year for him. That's concerning. That's not a good sign. And him comparing the draft pick to Aaron Rodgers when they made that 15 years ago or so shows you the Packers plan on keeping Jordan Love through the duration of his rookie deal, and then from there going to reassess when Aaron Rodgers retires their succession plan and what it's going to be like. That, to me, is a mistake. You should be going all in these next 3 years to try to win a Super Bowl. If you do, mission successful. Great. If not, well, you can always look back on a roster move like Jordan Love being there for 5 years and wasting a valuable asset you could have used to trade in for a better player to get the Packers that much closer. So I don't think it's a good move in any situation or by any means for the Packers holding on to Jordan Love. I think they made a massive mistake this offseason in holding on to their most valuable asset that they could have traded in to get better. So I'm curious your thoughts here. If you're a Packers fan, do you like them trading Jordan Love? Do you like the fact that your team right now, despite having Aaron Rodgers, despite having a window open for 3 years really in the NFC that's weak, despite losing your best receiver and the best receiver in the NFL, Devontae Adams, your team in the Packers is really not doing everything right now that they could be and should be doing in order to put a Super Bowl caliber team around Green Bay. That to me is a mistake, but do you think it's smart? Do you think it's smart to have one eye in the future and get ready whenever Aaron Rodgers retires to have Jordan Love waiting in the wings? Or should you go all in, kind of burn the boats, if you will, and do whatever it takes to try to get Aaron Super Bowl number 2? That, to me, should be the plan. That is not what the Packers are doing, and it is a mistake. So love to hear your thoughts. Facebook Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You can like us at the Ryan Hickey Show page on Facebook. That's where the live stream of the show is there as well. You can catch us on Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show or WWSRN_radio. And we're on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. When we return, speaking of quarterbacks, did the Raiders make the right call in giving Derek Carr a contract extension? We'll discuss when we return us into the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is Nnamdi Asamoah. I play football for the Philadelphia Eagles, but what I do off the field with United Way might be more important. I'm a volunteer tutor and mentor. Why? Because over 1 million kids a year drop out of school, and that's not okay. It takes 12 years to create a graduate, but it takes about the same time to create a dropout. And the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be me, or it could be you. Studies show that if we get to these kids earlier, their chances are better, and kids who read well by 3rd grade are more likely to graduate. So join me in United Way. Suit up and take the pledge. Become a volunteer reader, tutor, or mentor, because when a child succeeds, we all succeed. Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Take the pledge at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way, the Ad Council, and the National Football League.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Oh yeah, we are grooving here on a Thursday morning. Welcome on into the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. I want to get into Derek Carr's contract situation here. I think it's a bad deal for the Raiders for one massive aspect. I'll get to that in 1 second here. But I do at least want to discuss some breaking news that possibly could be forming here in the NBA. There is a report on the future of Ben Simmons, and it seems like Ben Simmons actually could make a return in the playoffs for the Nets. Now, according to Brian Windhorst of ESPN, there is a thought and there's a report out there that Ben Simmons could make his Nets debut as soon as Game 4 of the first round of the playoffs for the Nets, which would be in Brooklyn taking on the Celtics. Now, look, if he plays, honestly, first of all, I think it's a mistake for the Nets to play Ben Simmons. The guy hasn't played in a year. The last time Ben Simmons was on the court, as we know, he passed up a dunk and basically just melted on the court in the playoffs against the Hawks. We've had so much drama about Ben Simmons, whether it's his mental health, whether it's his actual health with his back, forcing his way out of Philly. And there's so many questions about Ben Simmons that if I'm the Nets, number one, I don't think it makes the most sense for you to bring him back in an insanely high leverage moment. This guy's he's barely practicing for the last year. He's never played in a game with the Nets. He has no continuity or familiarity with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And now, after what he has gone through and all the drama surrounding Ben Simmons, the first moment you're going to bring him back is Game 4 of the playoffs against the Celtics. I think it's a mistake. No, even if you get, 10 minutes, is that really that big of a deal? Like, is that going to impact the game? No. If I'm the Nets, I think, you know what? I just pack it up on Ben Simmons this year. Am I coddling him? Sure. You can get on me for babying Ben Simmons too much. I think it does the Nets more of a disservice and more of a harm than good to bring Ben Simmons back. I think he's more of a distraction. I don't think he can be relied on. He's not going to give you any sort of meaningful contribution. And again, putting him back in the playoffs on the same stage that he crumbled on last year as his first kind of taste and first intro back into basketball, I think it's a mistake. Some people say just jump right into the deep end. Can you sink or swim? That's the way to do it. When it's a player like Ben Simmons, I would say I would rather kind of go in the shallow end first. I'd rather ease him back, have him play next year, get his legs under him in the regular season, and then work his way back to the playoffs. I think going right from 0 to 100, right from not playing. Okay, here's Game 4 of the playoffs, which could, if it's 2-1 Boston, let's say a pivotal series, or 2-1 even Brooklyn, a pivotal game in Brooklyn, Game 4 to really swing the tide of the series one way or another. I don't feel great about Ben Simmons being on the court and contributing in a meaningful way. I know what you're going to say. He's only playing defense. He's only there to rebound. And in reality, and in theory, that's true. Because you have scorers in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And offensively, you really don't need Ben Simmons to do a lot. But him coming in cold without any practice, without really any sort of play, I think is a mistake and won't benefit the Nets. I think it'll only hurt him. So I wouldn't play him. But there's a report from Brian Windhorst saying that Ben Simmons could make his return to the Nets lineup as early as game number 4. So keep our eye on that. So a long ways away. And it's a report saying as soon as Game 4. So it's not even saying it's definitive. We'll get there. It's basically going to be game by game, but we can rule out Ben Simmons for the first few games of this series against the Celtics. I wouldn't bring him back if I am if I'm the Nets. Speaking of bringing back, the Raiders brought back Derek Carr. They gave him a 3-year contract extension. I think the deal is a mistake for one reason and one reason only. You gave him a no-trade clause. I hate the no-trade clause for the Raiders because what it does is take away the one thing the Raiders need desperately at the quarterback position. That is flexibility. Derek Carr, to me, is a good quarterback. He's a top 12 quarterback. He's not elite. He's not a guy I believe you could win a Super Bowl with. So with that said, when you don't have the guy, and I don't think the Raiders have the guy, well, the one thing you got to be doing then is always looking to find the guy. Always put yourself in a position to be able to acquire the guy. And that is flexibility. And right now, by taking or giving Derek Carr a no trade clause, you are giving Derek Carr all the leverage. You are giving basically Derek Carr control of his future. And with him being under contract through 2025, he's going nowhere anytime soon. So the Raiders now, I think, limit themselves in terms of being able to upgrade if an upgrade should present itself either in the draft, like we saw the 49ers do when they trade up to draft Trey Lance, or with a trade like we saw the Browns do in ditching Baker Mayfield for Deshaun Watson, or like the Broncos did in acquiring Russell Wilson. You got to leave yourself flexibility in order to be able to upgrade and pivot from your good quarterback to a great quarterback. When you look around the NFL, right, we know teams like the Chiefs have an elite quarterback. We just saw Matthew Stafford win a Super Bowl. We know Josh Allen has really, developed into one of those, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Deshaun Watson has been like that. Now the Browns have him. When you look at teams with an elite quarterback, those 10 teams, right, that have that franchise guy, that Super Bowl caliber guy you feel good about, almost all of them acquired that guy in the same way. Whether it's through the draft or whether it's through a trade, all of those teams moved off of a good quarterback in order to get the upgrade for a great quarterback. No, Raiders don't have that flexibility. Like, for example, the Chiefs. The Chiefs had Alex Smith. They were a perennial playoff team. They always had 10 wins every single year. Well, the Chiefs said, you know what? We need an upgrade. We're going to go draft Patrick Mahomes. They moved up in order to draft Patrick Mahomes. They were able to trade Alex Smith a year later. And as we know, they've been off and running, have been looking back since. The Rams got to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. They said, this guy is not enough. Let's go trade for Matthew Stafford. The Bills went to the playoffs with Tyrod Taylor the year before. What did they do the following draft? They traded and got Josh Allen. They moved up, they traded, they got Josh Allen. The Cardinals, they had Josh Rosen who stunk. But how often do we see a team give up on a first-round top 10 quarterback after just 1 year? Never, right? We never see teams ditch first-round quarterbacks that early. Well, the Cardinals had said, see you later, Josh Rosen. 1 year, we're going to get Kyler Murray. The Browns had Baker Mayfield. If you want to chalk up, and I would, 2021 to injuries and him being better than what he really showed on the field last year, this is a guy who won you a playoff game for the first time in 26 years. They moved off of him for Deshaun Watson. In every single case, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Bills, the Cardinals, the Browns, they had the flexibility at the quarterback position, whether they had to eat some money or add extra draft picks to sweeten the pot. They had the flexibility to, when an upgrade presented itself, to move off of their good quarterback to go get a great one. The Raiders don't have that flexibility. With Derek Carr having a no trade clause, they can't move him freely. Derek Carr controls his future, whereas the Chiefs are able to move Alex Smith, the Rams are able to move Jared Goff, the Browns will eventually be able to move Baker Mayfield. Those teams had flexibility to get a great quarterback in the building. The Raiders don't have that, and I think that's a mistake. Not having that flexibility when an upgrade presents itself to go get that quarterback that truly can take you to a Super Bowl level that I don't think Derek Carr can take you to, I think is a big mistake by the Raiders, and why this deal and giving Derek Carr a 3-year contract extension with a no trade clause is a mistake. I think it's a mistake. I think the Raiders erred right now on the side too much of Derek Carr, where you should have given yourself number one priority should have been flexibility. You want to give him the contract extension without the no trade clause? Fine. Derek Carr is a good quarterback where you can't give up on it. Like, he's too good to give up on. So going to the last year of his deal, I don't hate the extension in just terms of whether it's a 3-year deal, which I think is the perfect length. Even the $40 million per season, I think is a little high, but as you know, the going rate for quarterbacks is only going up. Derek Carr is not going to settle for anything less. Okay, fine. If it was a 3-year deal at $40 million on average per season with no trade clause, I'm sitting here giving, the Raiders praise and Derek Carr praise. I think it's a win-win on both sides. Because you still maintain that flexibility while also keeping a really good quarterback in tow that can still get you to the playoffs on a consistent basis. But that's not the case. The no trade clause for me ruins this extension for the Raiders because they lose what I think is the most important thing teams need when they don't have the guy at quarterback. And that is the flexibility in order to one day trade for the guy, which they don't have. Raiders, I think, made a mistake in giving Derek Carr the no trade clause because now Derek Carr is in control of his future, not the team. I don't think the Raiders are a Super Bowl team. Derek Carr is still the worst quarterback in the AFC West. Mistake by Las Vegas in terms of hitching their wagons to Carr through 2025. So that'll do it for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. I really appreciate all of you guys tuning on in and making us a part of your morning. Very excited. Opening day, the home opener for the Mets is tomorrow. So I will be there in person. I'll make sure to give you some feedback. Check out my social media at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter and Instagram. We'll give you some live looks from what is going to be a raucous crowd at Citi Field for sure. It'll be a lot of fun. Cannot wait. But enjoy the weekend. We got the NBA playoffs underway starting on Saturday. We got a lot going on in the world of sports. So we'll be back on Monday to break it all down. So between now and then, have a great weekend. As always, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll talk to you on Monday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.